The problem with Xbox is not their strategy. It's the fact that they forgot about the Xbox culture. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys? How are you? It's your boy Heba coming at you with another video. And I want to talk about all the hoopla going on left and right with Xbox ever since they announced that they were bringing the new Halo campaign remaster of Halo 1 to obviously PlayStation for the first time, and to other platforms that already existed, right? And Xbox's name, by its very definition, stands for the Xbox console. Microsoft has been synonymous with PC, the Microsoft brand, the company. But Xbox stands for the console. And this is the problem, because Microsoft, the company, now wants Xbox, because it's very fruitful and has surpassed their Windows division, right, to be a hybrid of both, and still doesn't understand that although you can evolve with technology, moving forward and evolving the gaming space and industry, which is all good and healthy for, gaming. Although you can still do this, but you have to do it keeping in mind that there's a certain audience that you have that was created not because of Microsoft, the company. It was created because of the console that you brought forward and the console space and mentality. And although, without a doubt, hands down, they're giving you the best value in gaming. They are the best value in gaming. And they're giving you the most new, fresh IPs in gaming. And no, I don't listen to dummies that I know don't play Xbox games that think that Crackdown 3 was garbage, or that The Keeper is garbage, or that The Gunk is garbage, or that South of Midnight is garbage. Those guys are clearly not real gamers. Especially when they, quote unquote claim that they play Mario Brother on Nintendo Switch, or Astrobot, right, on the PlayStation, right? They treat the games that they make as if they're the only ones making quality games, and then want to speak on Xbox games that they don't even play or touch. Anyone that says South of Midnight or The Gunk, right, for example, or even Hi-Fi Rush, that those are not games, or those are like cheapy dollar store games, like Crack Bayman tried to say in the Mooch podcast, you're completely showing and proving you're not a true gamer in the traditional sense. All you care about is graphics, cinematic cutscenes, and bragging rights. And that's not how that works. That's not the essence of real gaming, right? So, my problem, and I'll say it again, and I'll discuss and argue this with anyone, anywhere, even around my circle, my boys, anyone. You see me with E-Rock or even the Zinc, or anyone that will disagree on the topic because they see things in a different point of view. I see things coming from the perspective of what I am, a true console gamer. And I understand that the landscape of console gaming has changed. I get that. I have no problems with Microsoft trying to put games other places to make more money, right? What I do have a problem with is how they deliver that messaging. What I do have a problem with is the fact that they actually believe and think that because they're doing this, they're going to convince and somehow change the very people on other platforms, and that includes PC, because PC always hated on Xbox, that they're going to convince these people that Xbox is beautiful, or that Xbox is great, or that Xbox is wonderful. No, you're not going to convince them. These are the very people that have hated Xbox, the brand, the company, and Microsoft for years and years and years. And the reason why they hate them is because they are a threat to their console when it comes to the console gamers like PlayStation and Nintendo, right? Because they're in the space that they only want those two companies to exist. I'm not necessarily talking about them selling more games, no, or more consoles than them. I'm talking about the fact that they just don't want them in that space because they think only Nintendo and Sony belong there. When Nintendo and Sony are the very reason why other companies don't exist, because they mudsling their way in the industry, especially Sony, and did all these anti-consumer things, basic gaslighting and threatening developers to convince them to be only on their platform, or if not, they won't make money, or they'll fail somewhere else, or they won't succeed somewhere else. When that's a bunch of horseshit, right? So the fact of the matter is, and then let's say, for example, in the space of PC, they didn't like Xbox because through Windows you couldn't do things like, pirate games that you could do with other, operating systems, or things like softwares like Linux, for example, which allows you to pirate games. And they don't like that because they wanted to pirate games. And yes, they do pirate games a lot on PC. It has changed with time because they have a storefront called GOG and another store called Steam that basically sells games for a penny at $1 in most cases, meaning they sell them dirt cheap. Because for some reason the PC community has this mentality that they think that games that are now costing $300 and $400 million to develop, that they don't need to make, that they can make money just because they're coming out. They don't understand that in order for them to make money and recuperate any of that money that it costs to make those games, you have to actually buy the game at full price at its initial launch to support the companies. If not, they will not make full profits. And that is also the reason why in the industry, we all know, they keep pushing digital much, much more permanently or predominantly than they do physical. Because with digital sales, they make 70% as opposed to 30% with physical copies. Because there's another party involved, a third party, a third wheel, if you will, right? So the problem with Microsoft is how they did that Xbox Halo event for Xbox fans celebrating 25 years of Halo, and instead of making it and concentrating on the whole thing on the community of Halo that built Halo, that made Halo what it is, that made Xbox the console what it is today, right? With all of the successes and all of its downfalls altogether. The point is that they became big because of the console space with Xbox, right? And became very profitable, right? Even with all the hurdles that they've experienced, like the red rings of death during 360. They did not do that. What they did instead was say, hey, look, the very people that gave us the middle finger, that told us that we suck, that Halo, the game, sucks, that Xbox games suck, that Xbox consoles suck, they go, hey, we're kumbaya. The guy himself said it, the actual head of 343s that used to be at Bungie, I forget his name. We're kumbaya over here. And going forward, we're going to have every Halo game on PlayStation. And then he opens up his jacket and shows that he has a PlayStation shirt on. The optics on that move, it just makes no sense. You can continue to do the strategy of putting games on PlayStation if it fits the bill. That's fine. We can't change that. We don't run Microsoft, the company. But at least show respect and integrity to the fan base, the loyal fan base that's been there with Xbox, the console, since the very OG, the very beginning, day and date, right? That they've been supporting the brand, buying the games, showing the love. I mean, they don't even do fan fests anymore. And that was for the Xbox fan base, the console gamers. Right? They took that away. They barely do E3 anymore. It depends on where they are. Because why? Because they're treating it like it's a ecosystem. They're treating the Xbox name like it's a streaming service only in an ecosystem where you can access it everywhere, calling every device an Xbox, which is metaphoric, obviously, because if you can play a game on Xbox of your library on a phone, for example, on a laptop or on an handheld, then essentially it's working and acting as an Xbox unit or device. And it makes sense, right? So, I don't get all tit for tat because, like other people, because they don't want to accept that because just because it doesn't look like an Xbox console doesn't mean it's not an Xbox device, which it is because it plays Xbox games and Xbox libraries of people's libraries and of their games with their gamer tag because it's connected to your gamer tag, right? That's just metaphoric, but it's common sense, right? So instead of doing things the right way by showing love and respect, like saying we want to thank all our Xbox console gamers since the OG that have made Halo a complete success, that we love Halo and that have never left our side and stuck by us even through the downfalls, ups and downs of Halo. We love you, and this is for you. We trying to make things right and fix whatever we could if we did anything wrong in the past, right? And concentrate on the actual event being about Halo itself, and then, of course, the fan base themselves. They didn't do that. Even when they show them in the documentary talking, where they show the guys at 343s doing the programming and the development on their tables and on their desktop, all they showed was a PC and a PS5 console. There was no Series X consoles there. There was no Series S consoles there. Although they did confirm that the gameplay was on a Series X, that's irrelevant. That's not the point. It's the principle, the optics. You're an Xbox Microsoft-owned developer, and you're showing on your video your workers and your employees that work there, working on a station, programming for the game on a PlayStation 5, right? And on a PC, but not the Xbox console. That is what culture is. Key word, culture. Why could they had not just announced on social after the event, yeah guys, for the first time we would like to bring Halo to PlayStation, right? To see if we can embark on a new journey, getting possibly more new players. And in a lot of ways, that makes sense because there's a new generation growing up, right? And me and my brother Sega Forever spoke about this, that maybe they're just trying to find those new gamers that were on PlayStation that didn't grow up and don't really know the history from back then with OG Xbox and only know how to play on a PlayStation or let's say a Nintendo. That's all they know because PlayStation and Nintendo have been around all the time in the gaming space. They never really went on a hiatus. So that's why it makes sense that in every generation, most people only know a Sony PlayStation or a Nintendo, right? Not necessarily because they give you a better experience and deliver more value, because that's not the case. But maybe that's what they're thinking or their mindset that going forward, because, there's a lot of kids growing up now and that are trying to learn, let me get the green, that don't really know the history of Xbox or maybe Halo or Gears or games like that have been out for a long time, like Forza, that they can discover it. And I think that perhaps that's one of the reasons why something like Forza Horizon 5 and Sea of Thieves did fairly well on PlayStation, because it discovered and found newer gamers. Because if their methodology and mentality is to try to capture the PlayStation gamers that are veterans or old school or somewhat in between, it's not going to work. Halo's 25 years old. If PlayStation dudes really cared about Xbox and their games like Halo, right? Which obviously right now it seems to be the case. They're showing their hypocrisy, that they'll act as if they want to play a Xbox game because it's coming to their system, because it gives them bragging rights to say, haha, we have your games, but you don't have ours, right? Because that's their thought process. That's how ignorant they are. It's not about we want to play good games, all types of games, no matter who makes it and no matter where it is. That's never been their thought process. Because if it was, they would own whatever console they want and even a PC to play and set games the way they want to or how they want to. But most of these dudes, like Porter, for example, he don't even have an Xbox Series X. He said it himself. But yeah, he has a lot of an opinion, because that's what it is, an opinion, about the console, the ecosystem, and how it works, when he has no clue what he's talking about. Doesn't know. Like saying, those people that keep saying Xbox don't have exclusives, which they're absolutely wrong. Even though Xbox is sharing games, they still have more exclusives than Sony, because they're first party. Sony don't have first party exclusives. They're mainly third party. You understand? Like, Lost Souls aside, like the game that came out from From Software that they did not too long ago, like Neo 3, right? Like Stellar Blade, like what's the one coming out? That it's like a Ninja Gaiden style. Oh my God, I can't think of the name right now at the moment. And et cetera, et cetera. You guys know what I mean. Those games are not PlayStation games. They're not even funded by Sony. Shit, even Wolverine and Spider-Man belong to Marvel Games. I think it's a collaboration with Wolverine where Marvel's Spider-Man is being developed and funded by both Sony and Marvel Games. But they don't own the IP. Most of the games, like 90% that you're getting on Xbox, are Xbox owned, Xbox funded, and they're being published by Xbox, right? And that's the biggest difference. So They don't have more exclusive than Xbox. They just don't. Even though they've shared all the games they have shared so far to this point, they still have a plethora of exclusives. And these guys don't know that because they don't play on the Xbox console. And most casuals don't know that because Microsoft delivers most of their games digitally, not physical, unless a third-party publisher comes in and creates a physical copy for the exact game for Xbox. So if they don't see it in the store, which, let's be real, the casual market is the biggest market. It's not us old school guys. It just isn't. And that's why Microsoft knows by their very move of putting games on other platforms that if they don't go to the casuals themselves by bringing their games to them, the casuals are not going to come to Xbox because it's not the liked product. People only like Nintendo and Sony. At least 75% of the gaming industry, or 70. 30 only like Xbox, which tells you the state of gaming. Because that perception that doesn't make money is allowing them to still be the leading platform. Because it's popular. And popularity is what people chase, especially the casuals and the new generation of kids. They don't follow things because they're actually better or because they're beneficial. No, they follow things because they're popular. Point blank, period. That's why the Apple phone is still the number one selling phone, even though in hindsight, in the grand scheme of things, it's the worst phone out of any phone in the market. Okay? As far as the features and what they allow you to do. I'm not talking about quality or build. You understand? So, that's why that perception, even though, again, perception doesn't make you money, but the perception helps you expand your brand, if that makes sense, right? You expand your brand by perception because it creates familiarity, awareness, and popularity. And in the case of Microsoft, if they had this mindset and popularity as big as, let's say, an Apple with their phones or Sony with their console or Nintendo, they would be destroying everybody. Because once people realize how good an Xbox console is and their ecosystem, especially in comparison to what the other opponents and the opposite company and competition are offering, they would realize real quick that it's not even close. It's not even close. They're nowhere near on the same playing field. You know what I mean? Oh, the game I was trying to remember was The Last Ronin by Team Ninja, or From Software rather, that they made for PlayStation. The Last Ronin is another game. Silent Hill 2 Remastered is another game for Konami. That's not first party, right? So, like I said, culture is when you used to do those LAN parties back in the day. You go to your homie's house or in college dorms and play for hours or all night Halo on a LAN party. Culture is when you give your consumers the option of a physical copy of a game so that you can have real ownership and not just owning a license and having the risk of losing that license further down the road and not owning it even though you paid $80 or $90 for that game, right? Culture is doing FanFest and continue to service it. E3 and continue to service it. Culture is actually, being a representative of what is Xbox, the name and the console and the brand that it presents, right? Because again, it wasn't PC guys, Nintendo guys, or PlayStation guys who built the name and the console of Xbox. It was the Xbox console fan base that made Xbox what it is today and how it's recognized. Okay? The casual market is a dominant market. I understand you have to chase it. You have to chase it. But you also have to understand that a PC is not a console. It does things like a console, but its primary use is for personal usage. It does a bunch of other things, right? It's not a plug and play, easy to go and easy to access and easy to use product. When you go into a GameStop or a Walmart or Best Buys, they don't sell you PC products like in the normal sense. It's maybe a few things here and there, but you do not, unless it's a laptop, for example, right, or a desktop that you want to buy, but they're not selling it to you as, oh, this is a gaming unit to play games. No, they're selling it to you as this is something you can use in the workforce, in schools, in businesses, and that's how they sell it to you. And that's what differentiates a console. Being a closed box that simply does what it's supposed to do, play video games. And that is what culture of gaming and consoles truly is. Yes, of course, we have to evolve. And our Xbox strategy is not a bad strategy. Moving forward, being on other platforms, sharing games, it's not a bad strategy. But for the love of God, Xbox, Phil, Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, Amy Hood, Satya Nadella, whoever the hell it is, understand that you need to show the respect to your fan base, your loyal fan base that's been there since the beginning of the OG Xbox console. Even Bill Gates understood this. You need to differentiate your PC market versus your console market, or your competitor market versus your Xbox division market. You want to put a game on PlayStation? By all means do it. But do it with the respect that the console gamers of your fan base deserve. Don't insult us and slap us in the face indirectly by doing shows catering more to PlayStation or Nintendo, right? Than you are your own console base or your own console fans. Yes, you give it to us in Game Pass, day and date, at no extra charge, right? Except what it costs. But what's the point in doing that if you're doing it while you're slapping us in the face? So, yes, it's a nice thing that you're giving to us, but at the same time, it's like, and thank you for slapping me on the other side of my face with what you did with the presentation. Because if I like a game as a console Xbox fan, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to rely on Game Pass. I'll play it on Game Pass if I don't have money to buy it, but I'm still going to buy the game to own it. I don't care about it being on Game Pass. It doesn't matter to me. Game Pass is just a tool to have the freedom to play more games at no risk, to figure out what games you do and do not want to own. That's what Game Pass is. Instead, a lot of people are using it as just a straight source of playing games and not really buying their games. And then when those games don't make enough sales or money, right? I'm not saying that that's the case with every game, it's not, but with a lot. Then they get upset, like something like Hi-Fi Rush, and don't understand. So why they put it on the console? Well, because it didn't sell enough and make enough profit to keep it on Xbox or the Xbox ecosystem only. It's that simple. You want to share with the PC community? Go right ahead. That's fine. But don't give the PC community, right, a better treatment than you do your own console-based gamers. You have to learn how to balance this and balance your delivery. And I guarantee you, if you learn how to do this, Xbox, then you won't have as much backlash or rhetoric from the people that are a bunch of haters anyway. Instead, that's it. Guys, those are my thoughts. If I forgot anything, please forgive me. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of my thoughts and of the video. Thumbs up if you like, thumbs down if you didn't like. And let me know, right, what you guys think. Share the video with someone you think might like it. As always, that always helps and goes a long way. And it helps the algorithm. So, this is your boy Hebot signing off. You can find me in any social media outlet. It's all down in the description below. Love you guys. Until the next one. Peace.